Hi, I am Jordan Rivers, and you have tuned in to Turn the Pages. As you know, we have been covering college. So this season is the all college edition. So today, if you recognize her from last week, our very special guest has graced us with her presence again, and we are so thankful, Dr. Rita. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, you are definitely welcome. Thank you for coming in. So last week we discussed the preparation of getting ready to get in college and those tips, which are very important. But today and next week, this topic, it doesn't get a lot of discussion. So recently, people are starting to be more open, but we are talking about mental health. So before I get into the episode, I just want to take you to our overhead camera so that if you have any questions, if you have any questions about the show, past shows, you can definitely reach out to us at Turn the Pages. So you can go right to www.turn-the-pages.org and see every past episode from season 1 and 2. And if you have any questions at all, contact us at info@turn-the-pages.org. So now that we have gotten that out the way, I want to just dive right into mental health because we don't talk about it. And college students can go through a lot when they're away, especially if they're not used to being away from family and friends. So I wanted to go into depression. I think even as adults, sometimes you don't realize that you're actually depressed. Because you don't know the symptoms. We're not taught in school what to look for, what causes it, and all of those things. And so college is a really big deal. And, whether you're starting and you live in the city and you're going to that college in the city, it's great. But sometimes your experience is hundreds of miles away from home. It's completely different from being in the city. So I just want to talk about depression. So what is it? What is depression?
Wow. Well, first let me say, reiterate what you said. Depression used to be taboo. You didn't want to talk about it, or people labeled you, or even said things that were derogatory, like you were crazy, but that's not really it. Depression is a mental illness that can be brought on by many factors. And we're talking about college students. And like you said, separation anxiety, financial woes, studying, just being independent and on your own, and then being away from parents that maybe are sick or elderly and you're worried about that. So there are so many factors that play into what can affect the mindset of a college student. Yeah. And I want to make clear that depression is nothing to be ashamed of. There is help, and we'll talk about some of the ways that you can get help. But again, I want to reiterate that it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to people, and you can still have a productive, successful career in college education.
Absolutely. Yes. And, and to make mention, there have been a lot of state funding that have just kind of stopped for mental health, the facilities that we have throughout Illinois.
They have stopped some of the funding, but there are places that still provide it. There, and the college campuses, the counselors are equipped to provide services for students.
Yes.
So there is a wealth of information about depression now. There are self-help groups for depression, and there are ways for students to be able to cope.
Absolutely. So I want to know, when we talk about depression, how can depression affect college students?
Depression can affect college students in many ways. Their study habits can change, eating habits can change, and those are some of the signs. When the students first get to college, they might be withdrawn because they're missing their family members, which leads to depression. Or the opposite, say they get there and they're just so excited and they get overwhelmed with so many things going on. They want to be academically inclined. They want to be social butterflies. But all that can be pressure because this is something new. They've never been to college before. And being on your own, you think is, wow, I'm finally going to get away from my parents. But it's not quite that simple all the time. Depression has so many levels. There's situational depression. Say there's something going on at the school, or say there is pressure to perform. You want to please your parents. You want to show that you're independent, but it's a struggle trying to balance everything.
Absolutely. When people are battling depression, what are one of the ways that you can recognize it?
Well, one of the signs we see is students becoming withdrawn. A once bubbly, upbeat person maybe is not going to the events as much as they used to. Weight loss or weight gain is one of the signs as well.
Okay.
Just not performing in the same way that they used to. Depression has factors such as sadness and anxiety are two major factors. And major depression lasts for a period of time. Okay. So it can be longer than just a semester. Whereas minor depression can be a short period of time, which is maybe just that first month of adjusting to college, and then they get familiar with the surroundings, the atmosphere, the routine, and then it passes.
Okay. And now when we talk about major depression, what are some things that can probably happen that will cause major depression?
Again, we're talking about being away from your family members, finances, getting acclimated to your roommate,
yes,
different professors. I mean, there's so many things that contribute to it because this is a whole new world for students. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to adjust. But like I said, the adjustment period for most is a short amount of time. When it starts getting to be longer than 2 months, then we need to look at some other avenues, counseling, professional help, just to get over that hurdle. But again, seeking out someone to talk to is one of the best things that you can do. Talk therapy, behavior therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And once students start going and maybe they get into a group counseling, they can see that there's others that are experiencing the same thing, and that helps them cope really well to get out, meet other people who are going through the same thing, and share some of those opinions, beliefs, fears, and anxieties.
Absolutely. I actually, when I was in college, I had a son and I was very stressed out. I was trying to learn how to juggle that college schedule, the mommy schedule, the work, and it was very tiring. And I did receive counseling from my counselor at school.
Good.
And so, and I went for, I think, an entire semester. And it was more so in the beginning, I was just frazzled, and I ate late at night. And so it was that weight gain. So it's me not feeling the way that I did when I first started school. That definitely contributed a lot to how I felt. And then just being a single parent, trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, how is this going to get done? How can I, pass these finals?
Right.
And stay up with this son, at all hours of the night and the morning. So it was I guess that it was kind of a rough time for me, but I had the help. And as the semester got on, I think I saw her every week, once a week, just to, say, hey, I'm here, I'm making this happen. And I definitely learned one of the things she taught me was how to react. Or sometimes I remember her just allowing me to talk. And I would, when she doesn't say anything, it kind of makes me, made me think of, should I have done that? You just react differently. So sometimes your peers who are your age don't have the best advice for everything.
That's true.
Especially when you're walking
they're
into
trying
the
to get adjusted as well.
Exactly.
And their backgrounds could be different from your backgrounds. That's why it's best to seek out a professional who's on the campus, or even a primary doctor once you get down there, and just to get someone else's help. Because like you said, sometimes they don't say anything and you're wondering, why aren't they saying anything? They're giving you the opportunity to listen to yourself and kind of develop your own ideas and help yourself. In counseling, we don't just get out and say, do this, do that, because then we're not really helping you. We want you to come up with your own ideas, your own answers, and then we try to reiterate those things that are positive.
Absolutely. And sometimes if you're going through something, you want someone just to listen and just be there as a support, because not everybody would understand what you were going through. And then I think at that moment, I was probably the only one of like my group of friends when we all graduated who had a child. So there were things that I would go through that they wouldn't understand. So then it's like, okay, now she's not talking to me. Now I have to deal with this on top of finals and working and, being a parent. So it was really great having that ear. And, if the situation happened all over again, if I had to relive it, I would definitely go out and seek help the same way that I did. And those services were free for me because I was a college student at that particular college.
And that's what I want to reiterate. I too was a parent when I was in college, and I was under the old misconception that I'm not going to counseling. That's for people that are crazy. I'm not doing that. But when I reflect back on it, I probably would have gotten through some things a lot better if there had been that extra help from counseling. Like you said, the demands of parenthood was just an added stress. But I remember when my daughter first went to college, and she has a younger brother, and he did not adjust well to her leaving. So it was that separation anxiety that the siblings can endure as well. And it was a difficult time. He really missed his sister. And I thought, maybe he needs some counseling because they were just that close. So it can affect the whole family. Just like I said, with parents, it's stressful as parents when we see our kids go away to college. I said, I can't wait to be an empty nester. But there were times where, I was used to walking into their room and seeing them and they weren't there. Or just getting used to the whole idea of, hey, they're becoming young adults.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't need me as much. So parents go through it too. So it's not a bad thing if parents want to seek counseling as well.
I was just about to ask the parent.
I might need it as well.
I'm over here tearing up now, thinking about what you're saying, but putting my son in the mix of it because he's 2 years away from going away to school. So I will definitely be facing that. And so I didn't experience, the whole going away to college because I stayed in Chicago, great city. And, so this will definitely be new for me. I will be on the parent side of it this time. So I'm just like, oh my goodness. And it made me think of how often, he is at home and he takes out the garbage and he has his chores where he does certain things and I'm not
going to have to do it now.
I'm like, I'm gonna need help. How do we adjust? So it's very great just having someone to talk to, and even when you recognize that someone is just going through something that is affecting them maybe in a more negative way, how can I approach my friend or my family member and say, hey, how do you do that? Hey, you need to talk to the counselor, without being offensive.
Well, you know what? You just said it. To be quite honest, if it's a friend of yours and you're really concerned, you can say that. I'm really concerned. I don't have the answers for you. But I think maybe if you seek out the advice of a counselor, you can get some answers. I noticed you weren't eating as much. I noticed you weren't at a church service or a study group, or when their behaviors start changing, there is cause for concern. And as a friend, that's exactly what you should do. Make some suggestions, even offer to go with them. Hey, if you don't want to go alone, I'll go with you. Do you need me to drive you? You want to talk about it before you go? Are you nervous? Because counseling is a whole different type of communication. But we want to reiterate that it's a positive conversation.
Yes. And, you know, I remember growing up and the counselor, we were always, you know, frowning upon it in a black community. Oh, don't go see a counselor. Go to church. You know, pray to the Lord. And, you know, and I mean, prayer is great. You know, prayer is a wonderful thing. However, sometimes you need that extra help. You know, and so years. And I think one person who kind of brought it to light for black people was Oprah, who would bring psychiatrists on the show and just talk about these real life situations that people could not believe that other people were actually going on live TV talking about, especially black people.
I think that's what helps a lot. When you can hear that someone else is going through the same thing that you're going through, then it opens up for conversation. That you can really feel like, oh, someone understands me. And that's a big part of it. People think, oh, no one understands, or they're going to make fun of me, or I'm so ashamed to say that. And that's not it at all. You know, life brings about change. And sometimes we're not always adaptable to that change right away.
True. And I remember I just, you know, put my truth out there because a lot of people didn't know that I was placed in a learning disability class. And so I kind of exposed that on social media. And, you know, and I said, yes, I was that person as people refer to the short yellow school bus and, you know, all these things. But I went through this program for years. I believe maybe from the 4th grade all the way to 7th, and then I was able to test out. And one of the ways that they got me to test out of the program, they said, well, you know, if you go to high school, you'll be in this class forever. So you'll have the same students. You won't be like the other kids. And I said, well, I'm not like the other kids anyway, but I'll test out. And then they said, oh, well, you know, you're going to have to get on a school bus. And I'm like, nobody wants to get on a school bus going to school. But
did you hear what you said? The same thing that we're trying to dispel. You thought, I'm not like the other kids.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to be like that. And that's what we want to try to avoid. You know, it's okay. If you're going through something, it's okay. I guarantee you there is someone else going through the same thing. Look, or if not more.
Absolutely. And so, you know, I took the test and I tested out, but it was as I got older and I said, well, you know, I was in this program and we did this and we did that and it helped me a whole lot and it was very helpful. But I'm like, at that moment, I was labeled. And so that kind of made me feel different. And I realized that a lot of the same students who were in this class with me, we are all artists. And so it was a way for, I began to think, do they not understand how our minds work? And so they put us in this class because we're like, we don't know how to reach them. We can't communicate with them. And so, you know, you kind of feel a certain way, like, wow, what was wrong with me? Or, you know, and so.
But look at you now.
But look at me now. Here I am. And I'm definitely able to talk about my story and help other people, you know. And so I think that's a great thing. So.
Well, that's why we want to get the message out.
Absolutely.
To seek help and it, you know, to talk about it. It's not a bad thing to need counseling. And then actually one of the most rewarding things to me is doing shows like this. Where I can get out and I can share my experiences and then let people know. It's no use sitting on a wealth of information unless you share it.
Absolutely. I agree. Share with the world and make it all better for all of us. So one of the things I really wanted to get into, we have about 6 minutes left. And so I want to talk about underage drinking, especially in college, because that's a huge thing. And I can't not talk about the situation that transpired with Kanika Jenkins. And so she's college age, you know, in a new job, wants to celebrate with her friends, and then all for something horrific, unforeseen to happen. And so, but they were drinking, you know, it's definitely rumored that they were probably doing drugs too. So I want to focus on that part of college life because it does affect us. And, you know, some people say, oh, only, you know, white people are affected. We're all affected by situations like this, regardless of your color. It doesn't matter who you are. So,
well, in our short amount of time, I do want to offer my condolences to the family of this young lady, and I also want to send out the message: even though everybody's doing it, everything that's popular is not always right.
That's true.
And it's not to condemn the young lady, but it's just to send out information and warning. This is what could happen. And unfortunately, we don't know the particulars. We don't know what's going on. There's so many rumors. But remember, when you get to college, everybody you meet is not your friend.
Absolutely. And I think that is one of the main, you know, things that people have talked about. Like, you know, they're her friends and, you know, so many things. And so I had one major thing that we did when we were in college. If you went out with your group of friends, and I do it to this day, and we're adults, so it's the friend code. So you have that one designated driver, you know, who doesn't drink, who is kind of like having fun, but not so much fun where they don't know what's going on with you and their other friends or whoever you came with. And so I want to know if you have like any, you know, bullet points of how.
Well, quickly, like you said, we want to emphasize on the friend code. If you go with a friend and they're supposed to be your friend, then you need to stay with your friend. And this is not to say anything about the young lady's friends because, again, we don't know.
Right.
We're just giving out information to say, if you go with a friend, stay with your friend. Be a true friend, if that's what you call yourself doing. Of course, we say don't drink, don't do drugs. We know that, but things happen. Be smart. Be wise. Don't put yourself in a situation that can cause harm to you or others. You said something very good. Have a designated driver. Please do not get behind the wheel under the influence because you can affect your life as well as someone else's.
Absolutely. So yes, that is a huge topic, and you know, you're going away first time, and if you had a mother like mine, I could not leave the front porch until I was a sophomore in high school. So it's like,
oh, my daughter's gonna don't let her be a caller because that's what she'll say. We didn't let her go away and do anything until she got to college.
Yes.
But I want to say, you know, before our show ends today, that we touched upon so many topics. We couldn't really get in depth with all of them. But I do want to say, those who think they might be depressed, or if you have a friend that you think might be depressed, it's okay to get help. You know, that was how we started the topic today, and we're ending it with being a friend. And being a friend is taking that person to counseling, or being supportive when that person says they need help, or they're going to counseling. And again, please, don't drink. Don't do drugs. Be responsible because this is your future.
Absolutely. And one night can change everything forever. So, and you know what? Eventually we'll get into that whole topic that all parents don't want to discuss either, is sex and college. Because that is so huge.
I don't even want to talk about it. My kids are grown. But everything that we discussed last week and this week has been such a pleasure for me to share the information. We hope that we've been able to provide a tool for you, a better understanding of what college life is like, what your students have to endure, what parents have to endure.
Absolutely.
And how you can help your child and how your child can help themselves to be the best college student and college graduate. We don't want you just to go.
Right.
We want you to graduate. We want you to graduate and be able to come back and give to the community like we're doing.
Absolutely, yes. So we want you to be successful and mindful of everything that can, weigh you down a little bit mentally. You do have help. If you don't have great friends, find them. Sometimes I find myself regretting not having certain people as friends, especially on social media. You see people in, their adult life, and you're like, oh my goodness, they're so cool. Why didn't I, hang with them
because
when
you
I
thought
was
it wasn't cool then.
Right.
But again, remember, everything that's popular is not always right.
Absolutely. That is so true. So, hopefully this has helped you in some way. Parents, do not be afraid to communicate with your child about sex, about drugs, about dating, about the relationships. Just be as open and understanding as you possibly can. I know my mom, she became open as an adult, but but it helps, and she's definitely my best friend. So if you have someone to talk to, please just open up and talk to that person. So I want to thank you, Dr. Rita, for coming in today.
You're more than welcome.
You are an amazing guest, and she'll be back next week, you guys. So we'll be talking more in depth about depression, the relationships, and everything we discussed today. So again, I am your host, Jordan Rivers, for Turn the Pages, and I'll see you again soon.
Next week.
Yes.